Hi. Hello, everybody. We have everybody out there who can find me today. This is going to be my first YouTube Live. And I'm encouraging everyone who's managed to watch this to say a little something so I know you're here. I'm Karen Fleisch. I'm a designer. I live down in Manhattan, Lower East Side. I've been a designer for a million years. Yes, I've been around that long. This is my first time using YouTube Live. It's interesting. As I figure this whole lovely techno thing out. Thank you for joining me today. What I'm going to be doing is a tutorial on making your own fabric face mask. And these are a couple that I did for myself. Ladybug fabric. I had some people say to me, well, why do we even need to wear a face mask? It doesn't prevent the virus. And it may not prevent it, but it really is very, very helpful in keeping it from spreading. And I'll tell you why. So when you're wearing the face mask, you're less likely to touch your face, which is apparently not a good idea right now. Also, when you are 6 feet away from someone, it is still at protection because people breathing, stuff coming out of their nose, it still gets in the air. And we're hoping that it's the 6 feet situation, but wearing a mask is extra protection. Also, probably the most important one, as far as I'm concerned, is a lot of us may have the virus and not even know it. Maybe no symptoms, and that's great, but you could still be carrying the virus. And for people who are more vulnerable, that is not great for them. So by wearing a mask when you go out grocery shopping, or even if you just need to, like I know here in the city, if I want to get some fresh air, I need to take a walk around the block. So by wearing a mask, if anything that's coming out of me isn't going to get on someone else who could more easily get sick. So as far as I'm concerned, it's to help others, right? Okay. So again, I am Karen Fleisch. Let's see. We're going to. Again, I'm still figuring this out. So, okay, if for some reason I'm not seeing comments or you guys have any questions, I will get to the comments after this is over, just in case I don't see what's going on, okay? If anyone can say something, that way I'll know if this is even on or not. Okay, again, I'm Karen Fleisch. This is my first YouTube live tutorial, and let me just, as people are checking this out, let me just go over what materials we're going to be using today, okay? So we're going to need some paper. As long as it's 10 by 8, you're good. It could be office paper, it could be brown paper, whatever you got. Paper scissor, fabric scissor, shears, yay. Or just scissors that will cut fabric, okay? Ruler, pencil, chalk if you're going to be using a dark fabric, a little scissor, pins, don't forget needle and thread, probably the most important thing. And actually your pencil, if you have a pencil that doesn't have a point on it, we're going to be using that for something later too. You can also use tweezers if you've got them. Materials. So if you are already a sewer and you're sewing already, oh, hi people. Okay. Janet, hey. Hi everybody. Okay, again, I'm Karen Fleisch. I'm going over materials. We went over the first part, fabrics. So I've been doing a lot of research on what are good fabrics to make your own face mask out of, especially stuff for a lot of you who are stuck at home and you're not about to be going to a craft store, or you don't want to have to worry about buying stuff right now, right? So if you are a sewer, you probably have fabric hanging around. And any tightly woven cotton is great. So whether it's quilter's cotton, cotton sateen, cotton shirting, I've got these fun fabrics. So yeah, just mostly you want it preferably to be 100% cotton and a nice tight weave. Now, if you're not a sewer, you've got stuff you can use around the house. So if you've got an old pillowcase, yes, I even have plaid pillowcases. Plaid pillowcases are great. And I'm assuming because they said pillowcases were good, you could probably use sheets, anything along those lines. Tea towels, cotton tea towels. Cotton tea towels are great. Also breathable. I was looking also into shirts. So a cotton shirt, chambray shirt, do a little denim one. Could be really cool, right? Denim jeans, not so sure about. It might be a little too thick. If you've got really washed out jeans that the fabric is, put it up to your face. Can you breathe through this? I wouldn't do both layers out of the denim. I would maybe do the denim on the outside and then on the inside, just a cheesecloth, some kind of a cotton. Okay. Elastic. There's been a lot of talk about the elastic because it's not that available anymore, and they do need that elastic. If you're buying it, it's going more towards the hospital masks. My preference, which I had in the beginning, but I have no more of, is 1/8 of an inch elastic. I found it to be the most comfortable. But hairbands, elastic hairbands, rolled elastic, okay? So I did find some hair ties also. And as you can see, these hair ties are really big. So when I cut these, this ends up being 9 inches. And that is what, for this type of elastic, the rolled elastic, 9 inches is perfect. So if you don't have any of those, through discussions, we also found out another great idea, and what I'm going to be using today, stockings or socks. If you got old pair of stockings, I had old pair of stockings that I cut the legs off of. So I'm going to be using old stockings. So you can also use, again, socks, yoga pants. If you have old yoga pants where the bottom of the legs have like had it, but there's still good stretch. Lycra. You want to go with the stretchy fabric like that. Okay, how are we doing? We got a few more people joining us. Yay! Thank you, everybody. Again, I'm Karen Fleisch. I'm a designer. I've been designing clothes for costumes and clothing, alternative fashion, for a really, really long time. It's pretty much all my life. It's always been my thing. And I came up with some fun face masks that I think are really super. It's a really super, super easy design, really super easy to sew. So if you've never even sewn ever in your life, I think you can still do this. I'm going over everything from threading a needle to tying a knot to making a stitch. So it's a fun project, even while you're watching your Netflix or Hulu, whatever. You can even do this while you're watching the old TV. Okay. So are we ready? We ready to get started? Cool. Let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Yay. Let's take our paper and let's take our ruler. And of course, you're going to need a pencil or a pen. What we're going to do is make a pattern. Why are we making a pattern? We're making a pattern because we're going to do this now, but if you want to try making another one tomorrow or next week, or someone sees your mask and says, hey, I'm your best friend, can you make me one too? When you have a pattern, you don't have to worry about measuring out the pattern on fabric every single time. You got your pattern, take it out, and you can even put all the information you need on it too. So you've got everything right there at your fingertips every time you want to make a new one. Okay, so we're going to take our paper and our ruler. Now I noticed this is mirrored. This was my original way of doing this, but apparently it's backwards. So take your paper and your ruler, and we are going to measure across 9 inches. We're basically making a rectangle, right? So across 9 inches, down 7 inches, 9 inches, 7 inches, right? We've got a rectangle on a piece of paper. And then, after you've drawn it out, we are going to cut it out. Cut out your rectangle, and there you go. See, now this one, it's a mirror image, but I have all my information on here, so I know what's happening. This is going to be our opening. It's about 1.5 inches wide, right smack in the middle. So we're going to, if you want, what I think is really cool is if you measure to the middle, and then each side, give yourself 1.5 inches opening, and that's going to be at the bottom of the pattern. All right, so then once we have our pattern, we can cut it out of the fabric, right? So when you're cutting something, and again, for beginners, every fabric has a grain line, okay? So if you're using a pillow for a towel, it's going to be kind of figured out for you already because the pillow was already cut on a grain line. So this is going across, this is going up and down. If you go on this way, it ends up being really stretchy, and that we don't really want that. We don't want it to be that stretchy. Okay? It's called the bias, and it kind of works like a knit. So you're going to line up your pattern with the edge. And again, we are cutting 2 layers. Okay, so if you have a pillow, you already have your 2 layers, right? If you're cutting it from a towel, I want you to fold it in half, right? And then same thing. You're going to put the pattern, line it up, the edge. And if you need to, makes it easier, you can pin the fabric together on the edges so that it stays steady when you're going to cut it. Okay, so once your pattern is on there, we are going to mark it out. You can either do it with a pencil, or if you're using a darker fabric, that's where the chalk comes in handy, because you can just mark it with the chalk. And of course, this is light fabric, so not a great example. But if you're using dark fabric, use the chalk. Okay, and then you're gonna, once you've mapped that out onto your fabric, put that down. Whether you're using the same scissors or if you do have fabric scissors, then you're going to cut it out. Okay, so once you cut it out, we will have 2 pieces of fabric. Now, just to show you this, I did one side in a cotton muslin and the other side in my favorite ladybug fabric. And what you're going to do is take both of your pieces of fabric, put right sides together. That means the side that you want to see goes onto the inside, right? And you want it all nice and even, so all the sides match. And then you're going to take your pins, and we are going to pin each corner, right? So you end up with something like this. Now, to make it easier, see, we've got our pins on every side. we want to, Paul and Sue. Oh, cool. Okay, hi guys. Hi Lisa. So here we have our, everything's all pinned up. To make it easier in the sewing, I am drawing out your seam allowance. What is seam allowance? So seam allowance is the amount of space we have from the edge of the fabric, right, to where you are actually going to be sewing your stitch line. So to make it easier, if you're just beginning, what you can do is do it on both sides, just one side. As you can see, I made it a little bit darker here so you could see what's going on. And again, you want to also mark that 1.5 inch opening right in the middle. All right, now for the fun part. I believe it's time to sew, right? Yeah, let's sew. Okay, so if you've never done this before, this is really the tough part, threading the needle. Okay, so when you're threading the needle, you want to be able to see the opening of the needle. And I don't know, can you see that? Mine is really tiny, super, super tiny. There you go. When you hold it up to a light surface, a piece of paper, something that's light, even right, even against your hand, not too bad. Anyway, so you take your thread. I'm using a little bit of a thicker thread than you might have so you can see what I'm doing. What we want to do is give it a Are you having fun yet? Okay, give it a snip. And then we want to give it a lick. All right. And then that thread is going to go straight through that little tiny hole. Oh, success, first time out. Woohoo, see, I'm a professional. And then you got your two things of thread. I don't know if you can see that. 2 things of thread together. I am going to measure out, I mean, by eye, obviously, about 18 inches. I find that much less, like 12 inches, you're gonna run out of thread really quick. And if it's much longer, it gets all tangled up. Now we're gonna tie a knot at the bottom of our piece of thread, right? You got your 2 edges together. We're gonna lick our lips, lick our fingers. That would be the fingers that we're licking. Place the thread, the 2 pieces of thread, between the thumb and the forefinger. Can you see that? And then we're going to wrap it around the forefinger and slide it on your thumb and pull. And you got a knot. That's a really thick knot. I'm going to do that again in case you didn't quite see that. This is a very fun little trick. Okay. Lick. Got the thread on the thumb, between the thumb and the forefinger. Wrap around the forefinger. Slide. And pull. And you're all set. Okay, I have a little tail on this one, right? So I'm just going to cut off my tail. Oh! And we can start to sew. All right, so here we go. We are going to start at the point, one of the points of the opening. Okay? Take our needle, and from behind, we're going to push it through right at that first point, right at the side of the opening. Okay? There you go. Up and in and out. First stitch. Ouch. I'm kind of the Julia Childs of sewing. I'm constantly pricking myself with the needle. Anyway, so the first stitch, really tiny. We're doing tiny, tiny little stitches, 1/8 of an inch stitches, and coming up right next to it. So there's no spaces. So your first stitch is 1/8. Put that needle in and pull it through. Right? That's our first stitch. We're going to come back from this side right next to where you came out. So here's where you came out. You're going back in right next to it. Okay. And as you can see, I'm not doing this completely straight, so that's fine. The point is just making really tiny stitches. And all you're going to do is, since you marked what your stitch line is, there's no guessing. You are just going to follow along on that line, doing these, ouch, tiny little stitches, right? And you're going to just continue along that line, going in and out, in and out, in and out. And you're gonna sing it with me? In and out, and in and out, in and out, and in and out. Mama's got a squeeze box, Daddy never sleeps at night. Woo! You got to make this fun, right? Music makes everything fun. Okay. Hey, Karen. Emily. Hi, honey. All right. So as you keep going along, you know what you're doing now, right? See, and there you go. I just had a little hiccup. You have to be careful with the thread because it can easily get tangled. And you just keep that going. Okay, so I'm going to show you what happens when we hit the corner. Okay, so there's a very specific way we want to work that corner. So let me get over there and put a couple stitches down so you can see what's happening. I did this tutorial on Facebook last week and told a whole bunch of stories, but I'm trying to keep this one to be less than an hour. So I'm not telling all the stories here. Okay. So as you hit the corner, how are we here? Can you see? I'm going to take the pin out. And again, we're keeping these stitches super tiny. That last stitch, as you get to the corner, you want your needle to go right in that corner spot. Right in the corner spot. So, see what I'm doing? Hit that corner nice and tight. Then, just to make it a little more secure, because it is the corner, I am going just to the side of that stitch. So I'll show you where it comes out. So it's coming out right behind where you were. See? So it's almost going to make a tiny little cross. And then you're going to continue on down your next, coming down this way. Did you see what I did there? Right? So we went in to the corner, then came just out to the side of it, and then back down. And now I'm going to continue to head down this way and continue the journey all the way down. Now at some point, most likely, when you're halfway through, you are going to need to tie a knot because your thread's getting too small. So when you end up with about 3 inches left on your thread, it's time to make a knot and re-knot another length of thread to continue on this lovely journey. So let me show you how we're going to do a knot. So let's say here I am, right smack in the middle. I just finished doing another couple of stitches, and oh no, I don't have any thread left. So either side, doesn't matter where you are. How about I'll do it from the back. Okay, let's see. So we want to make a knot. One of the easiest ways I have found to make a knot is you put the thread. See, so I went in and out, just taking a tiny little piece of fabric, and I'm taking the thread and going around. Did you see that? I went taking the thread and going around the needle and then pulling it through. See, and it makes a little knot, and then I usually just pop it in once more, just in and out to make it an even tighter. And then we can clip it off and start all over again. Now, just in case you have less than 3 inches and you can't do that whole little maneuver, there is another way. You cut your thread, and as you've got two threads, right? And then this is a little trickier because most likely if you only have a little bit left, you don't have much to tie, but you can take these 2 threads and just tie a knot, right? And again, what I have found is when the thread's that small, I will wrap it around my pinky so that it's a little bit easier to tie, get that knot tied. Okay, and then you cut that off, thread another needle, and right where you ended up with that knot, you're going to start all over again, right next door, and go from there. Okay, so if you are using a sewing machine, if you're one of those who actually have a sewing machine, you're going to do the same thing. You got your 1/2 inch seam allowances. I'm doing a plaid one here. And yes, this is plaid on both sides. So I do have my right sides together. And you're doing the exact same thing. You're going to do a little tack by the opening, right? And then you're sewing it. Now what I do is I take my stitch all the way to the edge and then start again and go all the way down and then all the way across. The reason I do that is because it just seems to make a stronger corner. Okay? When you are done with your hand stitching, it's going to look like this. And there's your back. Right? And there's your opening. What we want to do now is, hey guys, we haven't fun yet. Okay, so now we're going to cut our corners. Again, I am Karen Fleisch. I'm a designer living on the Lower East Side of New York City. We are making a hand-sewn fabric face mask, and we are cutting the corners. So if you see, I am cutting right, that's our little point where we did that cute little maneuver, I'm cutting right above it. So it's like that. Okay. Yay. And then we're going to turn it so our right sides are facing us. So we go, that's what the opening was for, right? So here's our opening. And you just want to, with your thumbs, start pushing the fabric through. Are you loving that vision of my lovely chin? Okay. Here we go. We're pushing it through. Then we're going to, so that opening is going to be the bottom of our face mask. And I'm going to show you how we close that up in a second. First, as we open this all up, we need to get our points. We need to get our corners out. So you can use, to do this, that pencil I was talking to you about before. Keep your needle handy. You can use a pencil. I also have a handy dandy little tweezer, and you're going to go right up in there and you want to poke out the corner. Poke it out. Boom, boom, boom. Yay. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so some people at this point in time may want to press this. If you're really, all into doing that, you can. Because this is cotton and it's so tightly woven, I have found that I can just give it a little, and we are all good. So here's where that opening is, and we are now going to close this opening. I am going to show you with this one, this fun leopard print sateen I have. I have it all ready for you. So let me find where the opening is. Here we go. Right, there's our opening. Now, this is a little bit tricky, but I think you can handle it. So here we go. Shall I knot this again? Let me do another knot. We got our lick around the forefinger to the thumb. Pull. Knot. Okay, so let me see if I can get up in the camera here so you guys can see what's going on. So you're going to take your needle. Here's our crease, right? We just crease this up. Opening. I want to come from right underneath here and pop out. So we're kind of going inside that crease and bringing the needle up on one end of where the opening is. Right? And pull that through. Okay, and I have a little tail there. I'm going to tuck that in. Then, so you have that on one side, right? I'm going to go now to the top and put my needle right across from where I came in on that side. Can you see what's going on there? And come out about 1/4 of an inch. See that? And pull through. So that little stitch you made, you don't even see it. You don't even see that stitch. So, and again, from where you were there, we're going to come right across and bring the needle in on the other side and do the same thing. About 1/4 of an inch. and pull it through. Where are you? There we go. And we're going to repeat that. So we're going to go then to the other side. Again, quarter-inch. So we're going to do that the whole way, close up that, and it's not too much further. So you're going to finish that up. And then when you get to the end of the opening, we're going to do a little knot. So the knot's going to be the same thing. You take a little bit from the top and a little bit from the bottom, and I'm about to make sorry guys. Okay. There we go. Through the and we're making a knot up on top. It's easier for me to do it over here. But we're doing the knot the same way we did it before. Okay? All right. If you are doing this by machine, again, instead of going through all that to close up the opening, you can just do a machine stitch all the way around. And it's a little edge stitch, right? So you're going to put the foot of your machine right on the edge of the fabric, and then the stitch will come right down here. And that is what will finish that opening up for you. Do you like that? I thought that could be fun too. So another way you could personalize your face mask is by playing with this would be on the outside, right? And you can add some bling, you can add some studs, or you can take fabric markers and make yourself a big smile. So when you walk down the street, everyone can see how happy you really are. Or aren't, I don't know. All right, now we're up to the elastic part. Are you ready? So again, I'm Karen Fleisch. I came up with this easy, I hope it's easy for you, tutorial on how to make your own personalized face mask. We are up to the part where we are going to do the elastics that go around the ear. So as most of you probably do not have elastic, again, I prefer the 1/8 of an inch flat elastic. Some people are using 1/4 inch. Some reason, maybe it's just me, maybe it's my ears, but the 1/4 inch elastic slips right off my ears, or is just very harsh, and it pushes my ears out, and it hurts after a while, especially because I wear glasses. So the thinner, or the thinner the elastic is widthwise, it just seems to be more comfortable. Also, the hair ties, as I mentioned before, if you're using the hair ties, I wouldn't go much thicker. Again, this is like about a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch, but it's not 1/4. And it seems to rest comfortably behind the ears. And I just cut this hair tie in half. This is when I cut this is 9 inches. So you need to have at least 9 inches in order for this to work. Unless you have a really tiny face, then maybe 8 inches is okay. Karen Hammer had a very interesting idea. Karen, what's the name of that company? It's can bands. They're elastic bands, and they're super, super long. But I did find that their stretch is a little more, they're not as stretchy as elastic. So you needed a longer piece. So I needed 2 of these rubber bands. And when I cut them in half, I needed 11 inches. I found was the most comfortable. And they did work well. If you're allergic to rubber, that's not going to help you out. That's not going to be good. But if you're not allergic to rubber, as you can see, these are it's like 1/8 of an inch. And I've been wearing this one out and about, and it's been very comfortable. I just broke it. They don't tack down as easy. It's a little bit harder to tack down the rubber bands, to be honest, also. Okay, so if you're, along with me, going to use stockings or socks, these are stripes, so it makes it a lot easier for you to see what I'm doing. I am going to cut 2 strips, okay? And because when you stretch these out, it gets really thin. I want at least an inch. So I'm going to cut an inch. Okay. Two pieces, 1 inch, and then we're going to open them up. Now, these might need to be adjusted in the long run. I'm giving you what I found was the best measurement that seemed to work for me. See how stretchy this is? Very stretchy. I'm giving you the best measurement for me. What is good about this is that if they seem to stretch too much, you can always knot it. But again, I don't like when I have knots around my face. So, but we might be able to adjust it before we finish tacking too. So let me show you how we're going to do that. I cut these 7 inches. So here's my long piece. I find 7 inches, right? And now I got 7 inches. Yay! So the first thing we want to do is we're going to tack your stockings to the bottom. This is where your opening was. So this is actually the bottom. Okay? The easiest way to do this, I took the stocking and the strip, gave it a little twist, and I placed it about, the center of it was 1/2 inch in, right? And then you take our knotted thread and you're just going to go, let me show you one here because this is actually, I'm all over the place now. Ha ha ha. Okay, here you go. Give it a twist. Place it at 1/2 inch on what's going to be the inside. Okay, so that's my outside. We want this to be on the inside. I'm going from the back to the front, right through middle. Yeah? And then I'm going to wrap my thread around this to make it tighter. See that? And then tack it down again. I'm doing this a little bit too far away from the edge. If I were you, I would go a little closer to the edge with this. But that's the main thing. We want to get that tacked down right there. Yeah? And once you have it tacked, which basically means a lot of stitches holding it really tight. And then you can do your knot. Let me take our thread off. Okay, so once you have that tacked, we're going to make a casing for the elastic to go through. And that's where it's going to be gathering up so that it stays close to the side of your face. So you hold that tight and you're going to, again, this is on the wrong side. That's your right side. There's your wrong side. And to make this easier, we're going to pin it. Yeah? And these pins are going to go right underneath. And what you want to do is push that up as you're pinning. Because when you're done pinning it, and I'll show you here, you don't want to see the stocking where your stitch line is going to be, right? Because we don't want to catch it, so that when we pull this, we're going to be able to, it'll be able to gather and move. So the whole point is that we are now going to do a stitch right underneath where those pins are, not catching the elastic, and there we go. Okay, so it's not our thread, and we're going to begin. So here we don't have to do as tight of a stitch as we did to sew the actual mask. We're going to do more of a running stitch, which is about a quarter of an inch, quarter of an inch, quarter of an inch, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. So this fold over, just so you know, should not be more than a half an inch. Okay, we want about a half an inch folding over. And we start at the top. I kind of like to give a little, I'm going to close up here just to give it a good, make that nice and tight, right? All right, and so we are going to do 1/4 inch stitches going all the way across. And we're going to try to stay down by the edge, basically underneath where those pins are, right? And again, this is 1/4 inch stitches all the way across. And we're going to keep doing that all the way until we get to the edge, and it's going to look like this, right? And you can take your pins out. As you noticed, I ran out of thread at one point, so I needed to knot it and continue on. And that's what the right side looks like. Okay, and once you've done that stitch, we need to, I'm losing my scissors and everything. Okay, so once we do that stitch, we need to bring the other end to come down and around, and we're going to stick it in here, right? So this is where the pencil or your tweezers, again, comes in really handy, because what I did, you want to sort of open up that hole that you made down here where the other piece, where the other side is tacked, right? And then you bring this, again, you won't have your you won't have your pins there. You bring this down and around, and we're going to get that in there. So if you did do, see? So I did about a good 1/2 of an inch I got in there. Yeah. And then we're just going to tack it all up all over again. So the knot, and we're going to come through, and we're going to do a whole bunch of really super tiny stitches right at this edge, so that it tacks it on, and that'll be on there strong. If you are using elastic, and this is the elastic hair ties. This is my front, came to the back, and it's the same thing. I now have to bring this down and around, open that hole. And then grab this. I'm going to put it in. Oh my goodness. There we go. Now the elastics, as I said, I was cutting at 9 inches. And when you get that in there, again, there'll be like a half inch fold over, or a half inch, putting a half inch in there. I got it. I got it. Okay, so you put a half inch in there, and if you're using a machine, yay, lucky you, you want a really tiny, tiny stitch, and you're basically going to go over this up and down a few times, which will tack it. Again, if you're using your needle and thread, you want to do a whole bunch of really tiny stitches in and out right here, and that's gonna hold it, right? And at that point, you're going to have the both of them. You have to do that on the other side. So everything we did on the one side repeats on the second side, right? And when you're all done, it starts off like this. And then what I did was I pushed the fabric through so that it all gathers up on each side, right? And the top, you'll know that the bottom is the side that you did the tacks on. The top, I found, because it's cotton, it kind of does mold. You're not going to hear me if I put this on. But, and you can adjust this. So I put most of the gathering to come down around by my chin, right? And then the rest comes up and around the ear. This is where your adjustment is going to be right here. So you can just move more of the fabric down under your chin if you feel there's too much of a gap up here, right? And there you go. Easy, right? Again, I'm Karen Fleisch. That was our hand-sewn face mask tutorial, fabric face mask tutorial. I hope you guys got it, had fun. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I will be more than happy to answer them after this is all done. If anyone feels like giving me a tip, yay, there's a email where you can also directly email to, and that's my PayPal email. Be safe, everybody. Wear your masks. It really is not only helpful for you, but it's going to be helpful for everybody who you'll be coming in contact with when you do need to go outside. This is crazy. Hopefully it's going to be over soon. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me this afternoon. Bye. And we're done. Bye.